Has a breakup ever exposed the naked truth about human nature when money is involved? Welcome back to Judge Judy Movie Analysis 2025, where we delve into the most dramatic civil cases, peeling back the bitter layers of reality beneath every testimony. And today, we dissect episode 10,000 Best Amazing Cases Season 205 Part 2, a veritable feast of domestic discord, financial deceit, and the costly education of trust. Spanning from a lottery win dispute that fractured a relationship to an uncontrollably violent physical altercation, and a lawsuit over an incomplete birthday dress. Each case is a sharp slice of everyday life, so buckle up as we embark on an unbelievable journey where Judge Judy, with her absolute sharpness, illuminates every corner of duplicity. The drama opens immediately with Case 2120 for McPherson v. Hall, immersing viewers in a classic financial dispute between two former lovers where Gerald McPherson, the plaintiff, sues his ex-girlfriend, Natasha Hall, the defendant, to recover money he gave her during their relationship, a narrative not just about reclaiming funds but about loss, recovery, and money's corrosive effect on romance, as Judge Judy begins by establishing Gerald's background, a 40-year-old home health worker for a company, suggesting a stable, organized worker, albeit with modest income, who confirms he has worked in this field for about 3 years and with his current company for one, asserting he had not been unemployed for more than 3 weeks since meeting Natasha Hall, all aimed at bolstering his image as a hard-working, self-sufficient man. The judge then sharply pivots to Gerald's past, a classic judicial tactic to test character and veracity, revealing he lived in a men's shelter and was homeless in 2020, which Gerald hesitantly explains was due to his former landlord selling the property, and his choice to go straight to the shelter to avoid entanglement with a previous ex-girlfriend and real estate issues, maintaining that he worked for the Census Bureau, knocking on doors as a field statistician even during his time in the shelter, a fact that deepens the emotional complexity of the story. The detail about Gerald's 10-year-old daughter, whose mother passed away, further complicates matters, as Gerald had to place his daughter with her paternal grandmother because the shelter conditions did not permit her residency. A crucial detail revealing Gerald as a father trying to recover from crisis and struggling to regain his life and custody of his child, as confirmed by a court order stating he regained custody in June 2022 after the Pennsylvania Social Services Agency placed her with the grandmother under foster care. The relationship with Natasha Hall began in 2020, with Gerald moving in around August 2020 and remaining until August 2022. A 2-year period that the judge connects to the 2 months between June and August 2022 when Gerald and his daughter supposedly lived with Natasha, a period Gerald denies, claiming the daughter only visited the grandmother due to financial disputes with Natasha, yet the judge focuses on the court order's implication of his regained parental responsibility. Turning to finances, the judge questions the rent arrangement, which Gerald reveals was an unfair 50-50 split of the $850 2-bedroom apartment, meaning $425 for him, plus half of gas, electric, and cable internet, a division Natasha Hall, a customer service worker living with her 2 children aged 14 and 13, confirms. And when Judge Judy immediately points out the fundamental unfairness for people living there, Natasha, her 2 children, and Gerald, and Natasha weakly defends the split by stating her children do not work, nor does Gerald's daughter, a justification the judge powerfully refutes, insisting Natasha's children are her responsibility, not Gerald's, thus highlighting Gerald as someone desperate for stability and Natasha as someone exploiting that vulnerability through a clearly imbalanced financial setup. The core of the lawsuit centers on Gerald's gambling win, which he discloses, after being reminded to look at the judge, came from betting on 25 NBA college and hockey games via the FanDuel application, totaling a pre-tax win of $36,772.42 and post-tax $26,889, received on January 28th of the current year, a shocking detail considering his background, whose immediate reaction was to give money to his girlfriend. The judge moves directly to the contested amount, with Gerald claiming he gave Natasha $6,000, which she instantly denies, correcting him by saying it was not cash but transfers, admitting to 2 transfers, one to a joint Bank of America account and another to a different account, with snippets 1 and 2 further detailing the amounts Gerald gave her in January and February 2022 as $6,040, $500, and $225. Numbers the judge accepts before asking Natasha the crucial question, what was that money for? The linchpin of the case, where the ambiguity surrounding the large post-win sum and the transfer method, cash or transfer, suggests a lack of transparency and potential exploitation, the truth of which Natasha must now reveal to determine the rightful ownership of the winnings. The scene dramatically shifts to a likely different, highly contentious case concerning violence and property damage, combining evidence from snippets 2, 7, 8, 9, 10, 13, 14, 15, and 16, which outlines a story of physical aggression between two people in a close relationship. The woman arrested TWA and the counterclaiming TCM. Beginning with TWA getting out of a car and calmly asking TCM, "Why do you keep calling the police on my sister?" A claim of calmness immediately challenged by the judge, who senses her agitation, which TWA explains was due to her being at home taking care of her own business and feeling annoyed. A detail indicating a pre-existing escalation centered on police involvement, and TWA's choice to physically confront TCM at a volatile location alone, despite her claims of being calm, inevitably created a situation ripe for violence. The confrontation quickly turned into a brawl, with TWA claiming the cuts on her knuckles of both hands were defensive wounds sustained while pulling down TCM's hoodie to stop him from punching her in the face. At testimony, Judge Judy, with her deep experience, immediately rejected, "Those are not defensive wounds," explaining that defensive wounds are typically on the palms or arms from deflecting blows, while knuckle cuts are sustained from punching somebody. A sharp psychological blow that exposes TWA's claim of self-defense as a lie and confirms her as the primary aggressor, or at least the instigator of the physical violence. Further supported by the evidence that despite TWA being arrested, the two continued living together afterward. The climax of this section occurred when Judge Judy noted TWA's lack of control even in the courtroom, prompting the judge to declare, "I am not hearing your case anymore. I am hearing his counterclaim," firmly establishing TWA as the aggressor, a title TWA implicitly confirms by admitting she went to the scene, a potentially aggressive situation, alone, while trying to deflect blame by claiming TCM had something in his hand that he threw away, a detail the judge immediately dismissed, leading to a judgment not just based on past actions but on TWA's demonstrated lack of control in the courtroom, reinforcing the judge's belief that TWA was the aggressor. This violence likely led to property damage, as a snippet mentions a crash and shattering sound inside the house, followed by the case concerning a broken window, featuring Brittany, whose parent TCM or TWA sues the other party over her bedroom window being shattered, with the father or guardian describing entering Brittany's room to find broken glass all over the bed where she was sleeping, right next to the window. A fact Brittany confirms the glass shattered while she slept. Crucially, it was not broken when she went to bed, leading to a damage claim of $1,100 for a non-impact window in Florida, which TWA, potentially the woman arrested, attempts to deny. "I did not break the window," then offering the flimsy excuse, "Maybe my bracelet put a hairline crack in it," an attempt the judge saw through, awarding the verdict to the plaintiff, stating TWA was being untruthful and needed to rethink things for her own good. A sequence of events that exposes a severely dysfunctional family where personal violence endangers a child, Brittany sleeping next to shattered glass and property, with the absurd bracelet defense and the lack of composure in court clearly demonstrating TWA's untruthful and aggressive nature. The judge's ruling serving not just as a financial award but a severe warning about emotional control. The mood then shifts with Case 3, a dramatic breach of contract lawsuit centered on a dress, where woman 1W1 sues woman 2W for failing to complete a dress for her significant birthday, revealing W1 as a grand organizer who wanted a spectacular dress for her party of about 12 guests, deeming her birthday of utmost importance to her and everyone she knew. While W2 is introduced as a professional jack-of-all-trades, a seamstress, and a seasonal tax preparer who W1 contracted to make the gown. The conflict boils down to W2's failure to complete the dress, which Judge Judy highlights as a clear breach of contract, exacerbated by the unacceptable timing of the disclosure. One day before the party, W2 announced the dress was only 95% ready, with the judge confirming that W2 had received money from W1 but failed to fulfill her obligation, leading to a clear ruling for W2 to refund W1, specifying the amount as $145 despite the full cost not being clearly stated, after which W1 mentioned she would return to her original seamstress. Judge Judy then delivers a deeper life lesson, suggesting that as one ages, prioritizing the importance of things becomes essential, implying that spending time with friends, family, or traveling is more important than a perfect dress, a prioritization W1 agrees to consider in the future. The case itself underscoring a lack of professionalism where a seamstress failed to meet a critical deadline, and W2's last-minute 95% ready announcement showed a clear disrespect for the client's time and emotional investment. A small case that Judge Judy expertly used for a large philosophical lesson on life's true values. The final case, Case 5, is a cautionary tale about the perils of misplaced trust in short-term relationships, a frequent theme for Judge Judy, where the plaintiff, Yanis, had a relationship with woman defendant to WD that lasted a mere 6 to 7 months, ending in February 2021. A brief cohabitation period made complicated by the core issue. Yanis had granted WD access to his credit card. WD shamefully misused the credit card to pay for expenses, including a trip to visit a secondary lover in another state, representing an extreme level of betrayal and financial abuse, which WD feebly attempts to excuse by claiming the trip was for a hotel stay, not her sister's house, and by asserting she still possessed the card. An irrelevant and senseless statement in the context of her financial abuse. Judge Judy dismisses the minor detail of where she stayed, focusing entirely on the fact that WD abused the credit card to pursue another relationship, resulting in a judgment ordering WD to repay Yanis, with the final amount set at $2,827, possibly an initial $1,827 plus additional fees. And the judge concludes the case with a harsh summary: $2,827 for taking his money and because you're a fool, emphasizing that while love may cross prison bars, it has no bearing on financial misuse. The case serves as Judge Judy's classic warning against the dangers of vague relationships and underscores the higher divorce and breakup rates among cohabiting couples. The takeaway being, do not give your credit card access to anyone that you don't want accumulating charges for any purpose, including visiting a secondary lover in another state. A piece of practical, cold, yet necessary advice. As an analyst, I feel compelled to speculate on the future fates of these litigants based on the character and financial evidence they exposed before Judge Judy, predicting that Gerald McPherson will likely win a larger portion of his claim beyond just the $425 rent, as his lottery win proves his financial self-sufficiency, albeit with a rashness that made him vulnerable to exploitation, a lesson I believe he will internalize, leading him to focus fully on raising his daughter and avoiding complicated romantic relationships for a time, whereas Natasha Hall, who exploited Gerald's situation making him pay half the rent while her 2 children lived there and gave ambiguous testimony about the lottery money's purpose, exhibits a purely transactional nature and will likely continue to seek men for financial support rather than self-improvement, potentially leading her back to the civil court with similar lawsuits due to her inherently non-transparent approach to personal finance. The case of TWA and TCM is a clear domestic violence warning, with Judge Judy directly criticizing TWA's lack of courtroom control and confirming her as the aggressor, a personality trait, combined with her absurd defenses like the bracelet breaking the window, suggesting she lives in total denial, and I predict this relationship will remain a violent spiral, endangering not only TCM but bystanders, especially Brittany, who slept amidst shattered glass, and without intervention from social services or law enforcement. TWA will continue to face criminal and civil charges, complicating her legal future. Regarding W2, the seamstress, her business reputation will likely suffer significantly from failing to complete the birthday dress at the last minute, a massive professional blunder. And I hope Judge Judy's lesson on prioritization helps her realize that failure to deliver on small commitments will destroy her professional standing, forcing her to choose between seasonal tax work and her unstable sewing business. As for Yanis, the victim of credit card fraud used to fund a trip to a secondary lover, Judge Judy's label of fool was a necessary if embarrassing shock, a crucial, life-altering lesson that he must never fully trust a short-term partner with his finances, and I predict Yanis will become far more cautious, even cynical, in future relationships, inevitably changing all his passwords and credit card pins. Through episode 10,000 Best Amazing Cases Season 205 Part 2, we have witnessed 4 stories, 4 distinct levels of deceit and irresponsibility, all converging on a single lesson: the truth is always exposed under the scrutiny of the court, especially when deceit has become intrinsic to one's character. From the financial exploitation of a recovering father to the uncontrolled aggression that shattered a child's bedroom window, and the blatant credit card betrayal. These cases are not just entertainment, they are sharp warnings, teaching us that financial management demands absolute transparency, conflict resolution requires maximum emotional control, and most importantly, no love can ever justify dishonesty and abuse. Which case do you think represents the greatest personal tragedy? And do you agree with Judge Judy's harshness in calling one of the litigants a fool? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to follow and subscribe to Judge Judy Movie Analysis 2025 so you don't miss any of our in-depth analyses of these life-altering court cases. Thank you for tuning in.